Hello and welcome back to the DFS Premier League show brought to you by VIP-bet.com. I'm your host Kevin DeVries. Joining me as always is my co-host and partner in crime, Rob Langevin. He's in that box right over there. Now, Rob, if people are going to the contest screen for this weekend, first of all, it's featured, the Sunday soccer contest, because all 10 Premier League matches are happening concurrently to avoid any collusion, etc. It was obviously incredible when City beat United on the final day. Nothing that at stake this time, other than Arsenal could, in theory, get into the Champions League, but relegation settled, title settled. But because there are so many matches at the same time, there are a lot of competitions. There are different priced competitions. So I'm just wondering from your side, how should people deal with the fact that this may look a little different to them, and which competition should they be trying to enter?
If you're listening to our show, you're probably on the medium to low entry level. I mean, anybody who's in the high bankroll territory of the $444 entry or above, you probably already know what you're doing, or you have an extreme amount of money at your disposal
that you don't want to keep.
and you just want to waste it, and you don't need to listen to us. But anybody who's listening and they've listened to us all year, thank you for listening. Thank you to VIP Bet for sponsoring this and getting all this information out to you. But yeah, at the $6 entry is basically this week's $3 or $4 entry point. It gives you the most odds of the most tantalizing low entry, good total prize, into the slate on Sunday with all 10 games. It is the last week of the year, so I think they're making it more alluring by upping the entry fee and lowering the amount of entries into the pool. So, it's the last week of the year. Let's get silly and just throw some money at problems, and maybe we'll cause other problems and go to meetings where other people gamble a lot and do other stupid stuff.
We certainly wouldn't want to compare DFS to gambling, though, in case any senators were watching.
No, definitely not.
Anything like that. It's a game of skill.
Yes.
is basically the default tagline. All right, well, as we mentioned, there are 10 matches, so 20 teams in play here. So we do not have much time for any preamble. So Rob, will just come to you straight away here talking about Arsenal versus Everton. Obviously, the big highlight in this match is going to be Alexis on 23 goals versus Lukaku on 24 to see who is most likely to win Golden Boot. Kane's also thereabouts, but we'll talk about him a little bit later.
Yeah, I like Arsenal in this game only because I don't know what people have noticed about their defense, but Arsenal's only let up 3 goals in their last 6 matches. I mean, that's not awesome by any stretch of the imagination, but Arsenal was struggling and they were scuffling there for a while, and I think that people don't realize how well defensively they've been playing, because I think they've been overshadowed by what Alexis has been doing. But my love this week is the guy who did the same thing last year in the last 3 games of the year, and that's Olivier Giroud at 6,900. Second year in a row that he's basically morphed himself into the fantasy wunderkid the last 3 games and basically made us all look stupid. Arsene Wenger had a little run with Danny Welbeck there, and Danny Welbeck had a decent amount of run in some games, and then Olivier came back on and started scoring goals. He's got 3 goals in his last 3 games, so that's tantalizing enough. With Arsenal kind of fighting for their spot in the Champions League, they need other things to happen here for them to actually do anything. But at his price at 6,900, he falls into that that range of players like the Jamie Vardys and other utilized strikers that could be a value play. It's a tough week. There are 9 guys over $9,000 in price this week. So you're basically you can go a stars and scrubs match, but with 9 guys, it's going to be kind of hard. So pick and choose your favorites this week. That's the best thing I can tell you. And if you're making multiple lineups, you're probably going to have multiple guys in one thing. You're not going to have one rudder to steer your ship on multiple lineups. You're going to have to go in other directions. My dislike this week, you mentioned him already in the Golden Boot race. I'm not even touching Romelu Lukaku this week. I mentioned Arsenal's defense. I think that they're going to be up for this game because, like I said, they do have a little bit to play for. I know it's not really in their hands; it's in the hands of others, but they still have to win the game. So Romelu Lukaku at 8,700. His returns in his last 4 games: 5, 8, 9, and 1. That's not really Golden Boot worthy or DFS worthy for this week. I'm not even going close and touching Romelu Lukaku. I think Arsenal take this game 2-0.
Yeah, the interesting point about that Arsenal backline is much like many others this season, their defense improved as soon as they started playing a back 3, which has become very en vogue. Whether or not that sticks around next year, we'll see. You assume teams will start to adapt to it. But yeah, Arsenal's defense has been very good of late. I think why you may be thinking that it's not very good from an Arsenal perspective is they keep letting in one, which is ruining their clean sheets. But only allowing 3 goals in 6 matches is pretty dang good. I do think Arsenal win this one to give themselves the best chance of making it into the top 4. They need Liverpool and or City to drop points. I feel like Everton might get some stupid goal. I don't know. I'll say 2-1 Arsenal, but I can see why you're going with none conceded by Arsenal there. I am going to talk about Burnley versus West Ham now, for whatever that's worth. Sam Vokes is definitely my guy here. I was talking about him in our FPL show, and we're going to come back to that because Rob talked me out of switching to Vokes when I had a double game week player in, and then he scored again because that's all he does is score goals. Big money Sam Vokes. He's 49th in price among forwards in this game, but has the most goals over the last 5 weeks with 4. And West Ham defensively are really strange. I mean, they do have 3 clean sheets in their last 5 matches, but in the other 2, they've allowed 6 goals. So it's kind of like they show up or they don't. That doesn't follow home road splits, which would have made things real nice and easy to figure out. But at this cheap, $5,700. That's $500 more by last week, by the way. And he's still just barely in the top 50 of forwards in price. So if you do want to go star scrubs, he's a player that you probably need to get in there to be able to facilitate all those higher priced players. For my dislike, oh, by the way, I also kind of like Manuel Lanzini, averaging 12.4 over his last 5 matches. There are other guys I like more in that range, which is why he isn't like my formal like, but he's not a bad option at all. The people I dislike are pretty much all of the Burnley defenders. They have the 6th worst away defense in the Premier League. They only have 1 away win the whole season, so even Heaton with all of his saves isn't as valuable because that's basically 5 points you're just eliminating at the very start of everything. So yeah, I really don't like them at the back. But I do think Burnley... No, I think they draw. I think it's 1-1.
That's a good call. I'd probably say it's 1-1. Burnley has... They were good. They were good at home through the middle of the season, and then they kind of wandered off into la la land towards the end of the season. West Ham is kind of a conundrum offensively. Nobody knows what's going to happen. There's going to be goals by people in this. They're going to be owned in probably less than 5% of leagues.
Oh, for sure.
And that's perfectly fine because with every team on the slate, it's going to be such a disparaging and diverse rostering of players. I don't think it's going to come into play. I agree with you. 1-1 is a good call.
Yeah. All right, on to you talking about title winners, Chelsea, versus worst team literally in the league and already relegated, Sunderland.
This game, I'm a Chelsea supporter, and this game, it's all about one player for me, and it's JT. It's about John Terry at 3,600. It's his last home game. He's probably one of the only defenders I could say that is going to guarantee play. He's probably going to come off early, but probably going to be after the 60-minute mark because they're going to want to get him a round of applause and have him change over, give the armband away, probably to Gary Cahill or someone else like that. Yeah. But John Terry, 3,600, had a goal last week. It's his final hurrah at home. Listen, he's a legend player. If you like him or don't like him, I know this is DFS and we have no real fandom for any players, but listen, the guy did it for X amount of years, and he's got the most Premier League goals as a defender. That's got to speak volumes for over a career that's fantastic. On a dislike, pick anybody in a Sunderland uniform. I know Chelsea just let up 4 goals to a Watford team or a Watford team that was basically running roughshod all over the pitch and against their second team, and I don't see that happening with Sunderland. I think Chelsea shut it down. I think they want to have a clean sheet at home. Get Courtois the Golden Glove, and I think that's basically what's going to happen. I think Chelsea are going to take this game.
Wait, can Courtois still get the Golden Glove?
Yeah, that's what I just heard. I just read it, so it got to be true.
Oh dang, I thought Lloris still had 2 ahead of him.
Well, if he didn't, I just reported false information. I completely apologize. But
I could also be wrong.
Read it somewhere. I thought he just read it somewhere.
It could have been the West Ham match, but then him conceding again against Watford, I thought would have remade it too. But
you know why that may not be true? Because as we're recording this, Lloris does have a game to play tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that may be why. Okay, so there it is. I think Chelsea's going to cruise in this game. I see it 3-0. I don't think Sunderland even comes close to scoring.
Yeah, I think we've seen that they've given up now. Now that they've been relegated, I think Chelsea also win. I think we're going to see some weird stuff as far as this 11 goes. The only reason they may not is they just want to get the starters to be the first ones onto the podium. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be a strange one for sure.
It may be a Loftus-Cheek game. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe an Ake game again. We did obviously see him last week, although didn't go particularly well for him in terms of the keeping goals off the record there. But I agree. I think Chelsea are going to walk this one pretty handily. Speaking of matches like that, Hull versus Tottenham, the second place team versus the third worst team. A lot of that going on this week. My like is not inventive or creative or fun in any way. It's Christian Eriksen on 9,700. He's the most expensive player in this match, and for very good reason. He's in fantastic form. He scored double-digit points in every match over the last 10 matches. His crosses are way up. He leads the league in chances created, both of which are more reliable in this format than always trying to chase goals. He's just going to consistently get you 10 to 15 plus, and that obviously has a lot of value. My dislike, and you might want to brace yourself or get a recorder out, but I don't like Harry Kane.
Oh my God, Sir Harry, don't say it's not so.
Of course, as I mentioned at the top of the show, he is also chasing that golden boot. He's on 22, Alexis 23, Lukaku 24. But the advantage is not in Kane's favor. And I'm going to pose a question to you, Rob. How many of Kane's goals this season, 22 again, do you think have come away from White Hart Lane?
4.
It's 5. Yeah, it's not good. The last one was against Watford literally half a season ago. Match week 19. This is match week 38. Wow. It was a long, long time ago that Kane has scored away from what I've started to refer to as the friendly confines, which is supposed to be Wrigley Field, but it's now White Hart Lane for me. And it doesn't exist anymore, so Harry Kane's never going to score a goal again, I guess is basically what I'm saying. Hull could very much just lay down, like we're saying Sunderland probably will. I think they'll have a bit more grit at home, as Marco Silva teams typically do. But I just think that's important to know. With literally every player in the Premier League available, this may not be the week that you want to go Harry Kane, shocking as that may be. I do think Tottenham rack up the score here a bit, but they may concede. No Walker or Trippier. Walker with an ankle. Trippier got a concussion that got him out of the last match. Looks like it'll be Eric Dyer at right back. It's supposed to be Dembele in the midfield, but his medical report came back, and he's going to need foot surgery when the season's over. Apparently that's been a couple months now. He's been playing with that, which makes his performances all the more impressive. So yeah, I don't know who's going to play there. It would have been Winks, but he's hurt. I don't know how we're going to move things around there. But I largely don't think it'll actually matter. But the defense may be a little iffier with Dyer at right back just because he doesn't have much pace. I'm going to say Tottenham win 3-1.
3-1's a good call. I like your negative shout to Harry Kane. People are going to be very tempted to... it's going to be a coin flip for people who want to get a Spurs and offensive player between, Eriksen, Ali, and Kane. I don't recommend all three of them only because of the amount of players. Like I said before in the beginning, 9 players above 9,000.
Yeah, it's hard to stack this week with this many options.
It's impossible to pick somebody. I'm interested to see what Hull comes out with because there's a lot of players playing for next year's Premier League team, for their next contract. Harry Maguire, Andrew Robertson, these are the guys that are going to be moving on to other clubs, I think, because there's going to be a lot of interest because they are actual Premier League players.
I think even Jakubovic has a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tottenham's. I don't think Hull gets close to scoring this. I think Tottenham take it 2-0. I know I'm calling a lot of clean sheets this week, but it's a weird week. The best play the worst, and then everybody in the middle plays each other.
Yeah. Speaking of people in the middle playing each other, here's Bournemouth versus Leicester. Bournemouth now, unless something crazy happens, will finish the season with more goals than Manchester United, which is one of my favorite stats. How do you see this one going?
This game, to me, this might be the funnest game to watch, and this is probably the game I'm going to key on. I'll probably watch Chelsea for a little bit because I want to see John Terry, blah, blah, blah. But this may be the funnest game to watch from an up and down pace standpoint. What we saw in the first game of Week 37 in the Premier League, Leicester are trying to spring Jamie Vardy, and Schmeichel is trying to punt it to him as fast as humanly possible. It's going to be interesting this game because Bournemouth likes to play a little bit of a break style themselves. So my like in this game, no surprise, it's Josh King. 5 of his last 7. This is the cheapest he's been in a couple weeks at 7,800. Guy just produces. he's the king of Norway for a reason, or he's going to be voted in very soon.
That's how kings work. Yep.
Yeah, this game is going to be Kings totally get voted in now.
Yeah.
It's a total new standard. It's what's going on. But yeah, this game is going to be fun. I think there's going to be goals by both teams. I think there's probably going to be a couple goals by each team. So on my dislikes, just go with the highest priced defender in this. Christian Fuchs, I think he's 5,200. Avoiding all defenders in this game. There's no reason to invest in Charlie Daniels. There's a lot of cheap games in there. Cheap defenders, cheap priced with, Tottenham's playing Hull, Chelsea's playing Sunderland. There's a lot of good investment, players in there. Chelsea's going to rotate defensively. You just don't know who it's going to be. We saw Alonso sit last week and Azpilicueta started. So I think it may be the reverse of that. So you could probably monopolize on Kurt Zuma if you wanted to get another cheap defender. If you don't believe in John Terry. But yeah, Leicester and Bournemouth is going to be fun. I see the game being, 2-2. That's a tentative. I could see it being more than that, maybe 3-2 Leicester. But there's going to be goals, and a lot of the big names are going to score them. I think Vardy gets one. I think Mahrez gets one. I think King gets one. I'll even say maybe Junior Stanislas gets one. And that basically neutralizes everyone's value and ownership playing in this game. So, I mean, I'm not saying, go away from it, but I wouldn't stack this game. Yeah. From a standpoint that there's a lot of players that I'd want on other teams to be heavily invested in one game.
Yeah, I definitely think there's goals in here. I think 2-2 is an excellent shout. Of course, somebody could end up with that third, but I guess we'll see. But I really like the 2-2 idea. Both of them score a couple goals, kind of tuck it in for basically the rest of the season. And then they just basically call it a day. Hold on, I got to do a little screen reformatting here. All right, I will talk to you now about Liverpool versus Middlesbrough. The player that I like here, and this is going to start to be a narrative from here on out, is Daniel Sturridge on 6,600. This, much like you saying John Terry, could be Daniel Sturridge's last match in a Liverpool kit. Nobody's really talking about it, but is he really going to be content being the second option up front for them for a whole nother year? Because he's not going to be the main option because he's never going to be fit enough. But at 6,600, last week he had 22 points. He should be in line for the start. He's averaging 15.6 points over his last 5 starts, as opposed to all the weird 3-minute substitutions he does, which is probably going to lead to him leaving. And Boro, while once being a phenomenal defense, are averaging over 2 goals per game over that same 5-match period, which is not particularly good. So I really like Studge in this one. Expect to see more horrible arm waves, by the way. If you want to see cool arm waves, look up Philip Chabib on the YouTubes. Yeah, that's not how you do arm waves at all, even a little bit. You want to start it like that, and it's fine. It's a whole thing. Daniel Sturridge can't do it for his life. For my dislike, it's Liverpool defenders. And while that may seem lazy, it's because in official and draft, Liverpool defenders are really hot right now. I think they have 3 in the last 5 because I think this one replaced the previous one in that 5-match moving stretch. But they've looked much, much better of late. But unfortunately, even with now 3 consecutive clean sheets, James Milner, $7,000 James Milner, is the only one to have recorded a double-digit scoring effort in that period. So even though they are keeping clean sheets and they're doing well, it isn't actually benefiting you in this format. And it's likely they keep a clean sheet because Boro have the worst attack in the league. But I'm just saying, if you look at it and what they've been doing recently, even when they're getting clean sheets, they aren't picking up points. So don't look at this and be like, Liverpool, clean sheet equals Liverpool defensive stack. They might keep the clean sheet, but that still might only be 8 points. So anyway, I just felt like that needed to be addressed there. I do think Liverpool win this one, though, which would obviously be a blow for Arsenal's chances. They need Liverpool, I think, to lose directly, if memory serves. But I think Liverpool win this one. Maybe something nervy. Maybe like a 2-0, but the second one comes pretty late.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call. I actually trust Liverpool's defense on this. When we get to our teams, I'll spray some love to them. But
Okay.
4 out of 5 clean sheets is pretty good. Is good enough for me.
Is it 4 or 5?
Yeah, it's 4 or 5.
I thought it may have been.
Especially for a team who's struggling to score like Middlesbrough. I think Liverpool score early and the game gets boring and I probably never turn it on. And they are calling for foul weather in Liverpool this weekend, so be prepared for that. Maybe 1-0, maybe 2-0, maybe a James Milner PK late because Middlesbrough kicked somebody in the face. I don't know. That's probably what's going to not happen.
You keep saying which match you're going to watch. One of my favorite things. I'm currently in Lexington, and one of the few cool things in this state is there's one bar that shows matches very early in the morning, all throughout the year. And on the last day, they have a room with 10 TVs around a square bar, and it's just all 10 matches. And it's
Nice.
one of my favorite weird traditions here. So I'm going to simultaneously be watching all of them, which really means we'll be watching none of them. Also, as Rob knows, there's no signal there. So I will go dark for that whole period of time while all this craziness happens. Oh, and by the way, if we're predicting things, I think Arsenal will end up getting Champions League. I think Liverpool could mess it up.
I would love that.
Just because I'm a Tottenham fan. So I'm used to them getting away with crap like this. But as you mentioned with the Giroud thing, this is like the 5th consecutive year that Arsenal have like gone on a tear to end the season, and it's just so infuriating constantly.
Yeah. It is kind of weird how they always do that, and it's they kind of lay in the weeds, and everybody's like, oh, that's it, forget it, Wenger out, it's it, it's
as
over.
Soon as they get knocked out of the Champions League, yeah. And then they go on some crazy run and end up still getting Champions League. But anyway, enough about that club that I do not particularly care for. Let's talk about Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. Manchester United, by the way, have a bottom 3 attack over the last 5 matches.
Yeah, they are watching water boil, is what they are. They are not an offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. And they are my dislike this week. Any offensive player, Man United, Martial, Mkhitaryan, Mata, Rashford, everybody you want. Listen, they're not going to be playing for this game. They have a Europa game on Wednesday, right after this. So they are playing for that. They could care less what happens in this game to Crystal Palace. They have nothing to play for. Jose knows it. Everyone knows it. Jose doesn't care. He's playing for Europa on Wednesday. Crystal Palace, the guy I like, it's a payback game for him. It's Wilfried Zaha at 7,200.
We're counting that as payback? He played half a season and then went on loan to Cardiff?
It counts.
Okay.
It counts. Everything counts. When we're talking about Wilfried Zaha,
count it.
It counts. He's been playing well of late. He's getting his legs back under him at the right time at the end of the season. For fantasy, that's great. For cash, it's even better because he does a lot of those ancillary stuff that people don't ever see, and he takes a lot of fouls. United's going to be hacking him away, depending on what defense is there. I don't even know if they're going to be healthy enough to put a defense in there. I know Bailly got dinged up at the end of the game. Was it today? So I don't know who they're going to put out, but Phil Jones and Chris Smalling definitely do not scare me. Zaha doesn't care. That should be like a t-shirt.
Zaha don't care.
This game is going to be a boring malaise of United's going to do nothing, and we're going to get built up because they're doing nothing, but they may actually do something, but they're really not going to do anything. And then Crystal Palace is probably going to score once or twice, and United's just going to fall into a shell and then just not give up anymore. I could see this game going 2-0 Crystal Palace.
Oh, dang. In the theme of players that won't be at their clubs anymore, I think most people assume that Wayne Rooney is just about done at Manchester United with MLS links. And if Everton lose Lukaku or Barkley, I could see them going back in for Rooney, who, of course, came through at Everton. I think this is going to be a 1-1. I'm going to say Rooney scores like a penalty or something really annoying. Palace's big match was last week. They sealed themselves in the Premier League.
Yep.
Things a little less important now.
It's one of those cash games at the end of the year, though. On the road at United, pays dividends for the Palace, coffers.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how they come out in this one, especially as you mentioned, with this match meaning basically nothing to Manchester United as they are guaranteed to finish in 6th place. All right, on to Southampton versus Stoke. I'm going to be honest, when we were divvying up these matches, and I'm the one that divvies them up, I got this one, was just like, this is going to suck. The only player that I think is ownable in this match is Ryan Bertrand at 5,100, with 3 matches with 10 points over the last 5. I honestly feel he is the only Southampton player that's ownable. He's probably the only player in this match that's ownable. The attack is constantly disappointing, as we've just seen. Gabbiadini burnt everybody in every format again. Cedric is hurt, and the center backs don't pick up points in this format. So that just leaves Bertrand. My dislike, I wasn't joking, is everyone else in this match. We're going to say this is just a very, very frustrating 0-0 or 1-1, and we don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, this game is going to be blah. It's going to have 10 viewers watching it, and it's all the players' moms. Yeah, I may give a tout to Shaqiri because he does get a little wide side.
But aren't there like 10 other players in the 7s you'd rather have?
Absolutely no. But I'm just saying from this game standpoint, you gotta highlight somebody. I know this game is boring. I don't really want to own anybody in it from it. And when we get to my team, I don't. Yeah, this game's going to be either 0-0 or 1-0. Somebody's going to get a goal, and then that's it. They're probably like Crouch.
Yeah.
Probably.
In other formats, my sneaky play is Charlie Austin, but at this he's 6,600. Like there are established starters that are cheaper than that.
I mean, you can get Giroud for 6,900.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay the extra 3 for Ali G.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a match that may be more boring. We'll see. Is Swansea versus West Brom, but at least there was a big player in this one. Obviously, Sigurdsson, pretty near the top of the heap in price.
Yeah, Kevin got the bad game with Southampton and Stoke, and I got the Swansea West Brom. These two offensive friggin' titans facing off against each other on a field of grass. What I like this week is Fernando Llorente. He's in that between 6,000 to 7,200 striker range that has all types of value in it. I think I named 2 or 3 guys, but Llorente at $6,000. He's got 3 goals the last 4. He also has the most headed goals in this calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Screw you, Michael Antonio."
To be fair, has been hurt this whole half year, but
yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Still got the most.
It's true.
Play or don't. You still don't have the most. So, with all the players over 9,000, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but these are the guys that fill in the rest of your roster. You go cheap on defense. You put 2 cheap strikers in there, like Giroud and Llorente, and then you bring in De Bruyne and Sanchez in the midfield, and then fill everything else out. You whatever's left, you go into the utility role, and I don't even care. Pick a third defenseman if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dislike in this game, any offensive player for the Baggies or anybody not named Fernando Llorente. I'm not a big Gylfi fan this week. I know he's consistent. He's basically, everyone likes riding on the Ferris wheel, but when the roller coaster's right next to it, why don't you ride the roller coaster and go Alexis Sanchez? They're similarly priced, and they're in the same amusement park. They play the same kind of position, but Alexis gets goals.
Alexis 3 straight 2-goal games.
I mean, that's just sick. The guy is sick right now. For the price differential there, it's not much. It's just a move off of 1 defender down like 7 defenders on the rankings. Just do that instead. This game is going to be boring. I don't see West Brom doing much. They have nothing offensively. Rondon is garbage. Hal Robinson Canu has 2 goals compared to 1 goal for Hector Rondon in the last 12 games, and he's played, I think, 600 less minutes. So there's that. There's nothing offensively great about this game. It's all about the Swans this week. They're safe, so that's good. They're going to probably come out and do something early, and Gylfi will do his whole thing, probably send it across. Llorente will hit it in with his arm or his ear or some kind of body part associated with his neck and above. I think it'll be 2-1. I think West Brom get a goal, but it'll probably be fluky from
like against Chelsea, where it's just
like
annoying.
like a James McLean or something
Yep.
goofy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 1-0 to someone. I don't really know who. I'll say Siggy in the departing players vein. I'm gonna wrap things up here as we're about to hit the 30-minute mark. With Watford versus Manchester City, continuing that theme, players on the way out. Everybody was talking about the Zabaleta ceremony last week, and rightfully so. Obviously, a great steward for Manchester City was there from before the money. But nobody's talking about Yaya Toure, who is probably on his way out as well. He scored midweek, will absolutely start at the weekend because of the fact that he may be departing. And at that price, 4,500, we were talking about you need to get some cheap players in there. 4,500, that's incredible. And I know you said we aren't supposed to be fans of particular players, but admittedly, there's a bit of sentimentality in here. For all the years of fantasy value that Yaya Toure has brought me, and with the low price, he's going to be in a fair few amount of my teams. I mean, his kind of upside for 4,500 just seems like a steal for me. I've paid that kind of price for Tom Carroll this year, right? So that kind of price for Yaya is definitely worth it to me. David Silva was a terrific call by me last week, ended up working out very well. He got the goal at 6,700. I still like him. 2 goals in his last 3 matches. Gabriel Jesus, a little rich for my blood, but 3 and 2 in the last 5, also pretty good. My dislike is Raheem Sterling on 7,600. As I already said, there are probably like 10 to 12 players that I like in the 7,000 range, and we've nailed 2 that I don't like, which are Shaqiri and Sterling. Sterling just 1 goal in his last 10 matches, most likely to be dropped out of the 11. He's the one that keeps falling out from time to time. Watford's defense isn't good, but as I said, there are already 3 different City players I just mentioned that I like more, and there's still De Bruyne in there, there's still Sane in there, Aguero's too expensive, but he's still in there. Like, there are a lot of players you like a lot more than Sterling this week, at least from my side. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that's the matches. There are 10 matches on this slate. We just went through all of them. Where do you think the end up price? The winning score is going to end up. Could we see? I mean, I don't think we're going to get near 200, but it's going to be crazy. Somebody's going to get the right combination of hanging chads, if you will.
Yeah, somebody's going to maximize and get two goal scorers this week and just roll with that. The final score is going to be anywhere between 160 and 190, depending on the amount of goals. The amount of games on the slate doesn't really matter because you can only pick the same amount of players in every week. You can only pick 9 guys, so everybody has to pick 8 guys or whatever it is. You go pick 8 guys, so everybody has to pick 8 guys. It's just hitting on the right 8 guys to maximize your point total. That's the name of the game. It's why we talk here and talk about guys and make you listen to us.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just hitting on the right guys this week. I'd probably say 175 would probably be a good thing. I think there's going to be some goals this week. I think people who hit on the Leicester Bournemouth thing may maximize their potential. Liverpool's may score some goals. Arsenal's definitely going to be a lot of ownership there with Giroud and Alexis Sanchez, players of that. It's going to be pretty high.
Yeah, I'm gonna price is right to you. I'm gonna say 176. No, I'll say 180.
I'll say $1 then. I say $1.
You got $1. You got everything under 180. Fair enough. All right. Why don't you walk us through your team this week?
Yeah, I made a quick team. Simone Mignolet in goal. It depends on who's going to play in goal. I can always change it. At 5,900, doesn't really matter. On defense, Martin Olsen, John Terry, going kind of a contributor on offense, and then the sentimental play in John Terry at 3,600. Through the midfield, I have Kevin De Bruyne and Adam Lallana. Lallana is kind of the anti-Philip Coutinho play this week. I think Coutinho is going to be way over-owned because of what he did last week. Yeah. My forwards are Josh King and Olivier Giroud. And at utility, I wanted to get somebody in from West Ham. I didn't have enough money for Emmanuel Lanzini, so I went Andre Ayew. He should have had a goal last week. He hit the post twice because he's got double vision. I don't know, but at 4,900, you can't really go wrong. He's one of those. He's my cheap punt play for the week.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like that a fair bit. My team, which apparently I've way messed up the screenshot of, is right here. I got Hugo Lloris at the back. As always, doubled up my defense. Hugo Lloris and Toby Alderweireld. Maya Yoshida, who was a great call by you and should have scored today. Then Alexis Sanchez, Yaya Toure, who I already mentioned, Gabriel Jesus, Romelu Lukaku, and Sam Vokes. I trust in Lukaku a bit more than you do this week, although the Giroud shout is an interesting one. I'm in a weird situation where I just like this team composition. I may make another team where I go more the Ali G route and stuff, but I really like the look of this team.
I like the Jesus. I liked when City came out, they put a tip and Jesus on the wide side, basically almost into that Coutinho Firmino kind of a Brazilian outside player role. I think he played well there. I think he's just got to get used to playing that position because I think he's used to playing in the center of the pitch instead of the wide side. Because a lot of his hesitation on taking shots was at a sharp angle, and he's not used to taking those kind of sharp angles. So it's something he's got to get used to and practice a little bit. I mean, he's a professional soccer player. He doesn't really need to practice, but you know what I mean. Just the
he just
raw
needs minutes
ability.
in that role.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's probably his position going forward with De Bruyne in the center, and then who insert any player in they want to spend money on the other side.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for us today, and indeed for this season. So, Rob, for one last time as we go on, we'll remember. No, I'm just kidding. Where can they find you?
You can find me, as always, on Twitter at Smokey_Loogie, or you can find my writings, stylings, and FPL banter on Razball.com.
And I'm your other host, Kevin DeVries, at Kevoff on Twitter. Again, huge thanks to VIP-Bet for letting us do this all season. You can find them at VIP-bet.com. You can find me, as I said, at Kevoff. Both of us are hosts on a show called the FPL Roundtable, where we talk about the official game primarily. I also host the EPL Roundtable, which is all things Premier League. We also have a championship roundtable, where we're going to have an episode talking about the playoffs, and obviously it's going to be now Huddersfield versus Reading, which is the two teams I wasn't particularly hoping to see in the playoffs, so that'll be interesting. And then also I write for Goal.com, so be sure to check that out. Of course, all the fantasy stuff is under the gaming tab. All right, Rob, thanks so much for doing this with me all season. It's obviously been a pleasure. Thanks to you at home for watching and listening to us for either the whole season or just this one, whichever. There are no other options. You couldn't have watched two. It's one or all of them. obviously.
Yeah, one or none or all. Those are the only 3 options.
Of course. But yeah, huge thanks to Rob for joining me on this every week. Huge thanks to VIP Bet again, and huge thanks for you watching us at home. We hope you have a terrific weekend. We hope you have a terrific off season, and hopefully we'll be back next year.
We're looking forward to hearing from you. Get in touch with us. VIP Bet, your place to win.